Hi, I'm Curtis Johnson, a screenwriter and creator at CLJ Films, a division of Dog's Den Films. With experience across various genres, from animation to feature films, my work includes Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24, distributed by ITN Films and currently streaming on all major platforms, including Sci Fi Central's YouTube channel with over 1 million subscribers and 250,000 movie views. My second feature, Lot 24 The Rental, was picked up at the European film market and is now distributed by Stadium Media. Links to both films will be in the description below, and if you enjoy the content, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube and Instagram at CLJ Films.
Hello, Amber. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. This is a very, what do you call it when you go to work and it's like you can dress down, um, well,
Casual?
casual. Yeah, very super casual. So I appreciate you taking the time to talk to me today. Amber happens to not only be a very important cog when it comes to us making our films and a lot of, that CLJ Films does, as well as Dogs Den Films. She's also my wife. So it's always great to have your partner, side by side when it comes to, working on stuff. So, Amber, why don't you tell us a little bit, introduce yourself to the people and then just tell them a little bit of like what you did on the first film and the second film, in your terms, kind of like I know you worked on the first film, you were involved with scheduling and helping me do some of the scheduling, and you were the lead on that, as well as uh, you helped with all the food ordering, which is a huge part because nobody works for you if you're not feeding.
Right. The food is the best part. Right. So during the first movie, a lot of what I did, it started in the beginning. We did a lot of, script formatting and making sure everything was in the software correctly and we were getting everybody what they needed in the correct format. When it came to the scheduling part, a lot of that was trying to make sure everything was flowing together and that the way we were arranging the scenes to be shot made sense. And it would make for easy transitions with the cast. The first film, Alien Domicile.
Let me stop you right there. So you said something very important. You talked about like script development, and I didn't mention that you help with that as well. That's probably the biggest thing I think you need before you can even get into the aspects of making an independent film is the script development. I, I may have written the script and I've got 70 pages worth of stuff, but it's very important to have somebody who is like a script director, who's going to look at your script, who's going to read through it, who's going to question it. What do you think, Amber, was some of the biggest challenges you saw with just the script itself? And you can be, you don't have to be kind. I can take
I think a lot of the script development, when you read someone else's writing and there are aspects of it that don't necessarily make sense to you, you may not want to question that person and feel like you're questioning their talent or what they're trying to accomplish. But at the same time, it's always good to have a second set of eyes or a third set because everyone views things differently. And because you meant for something to come across one way, it may not be viewed that way. So it's really good to have someone else take a look at it, question it. It can help you develop new ideas, new scenes, new dialogues. And it just it just trickles down in the rest of the script.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. Okay. So then you were going into you doing the scheduling and um that was something. So just scheduling as a writer director and Amber as a director assistant or a script developer. I mean script director. We would have to work hand in hand with the script and the scheduling because as we decide what scenes we're going to shoot. Now, when we say scheduling, let's be clear what scheduling is. So when you write a script, every script is identified by a scene number, and in that scene number, there are a couple things. There are scene headings. Scene headings either are going to be interior or exterior. And include, so are you shooting inside or outside? The next thing is the scene description, like so location. Where are you shooting? So you have a header, interior, exterior, location. Are you shooting in a doorway? So you're shooting interior, so it's inside in a bathroom. That's the location, and then lastly, it has a time of shoot. So it'll be morning, noon, evening, dark, dusk, whatever it may be. So scene one could be an exterior shot that's shot in the garage in the morning. So when you write a script, and that's just scene one, and when you write a script, you can have 50, 60 scenes. So when Amber is referencing scheduling, what we have to do is take all of those scenes and we may put all of the exterior scenes together and shoot all the exterior scenes outside. If they're all night scenes that are shot outside, we may schedule those to be all shot around the same time so that, when you shoot a film, you don't shoot it like you watch it. That's what people think, I think, Amber, like they're
Yes.
watching it. They think you shoot it like you watch it, but you shoot it in little slices and then you go back and put all the slices together.
Right. Right. I think that scheduling for me is, being that it was the first time I was doing that, it was hard. I'm not going to lie. It was difficult. I would start it one way and sort things by, okay, these are all outside, these are all during the day. But you have to take into consideration what's coming up after. How long are the days going to be if we're shooting all of these day scenes? Is it going to start getting dark out? There are a lot of variables that you have to take into consideration when you're doing the scheduling, as well as call times for staff. That goes in there for the cast. So it's a lot, but it's very enjoyable, I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, and even scheduling is another place where you can find a lot of script errors. So when we're doing scheduling and we're looking at scenes and locations, and there were some locations that Amber would find, and she would say, "Hey, did you mean this to be a location?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I don't think so." Then I got to go back and look at the script. And again, shout out to Studio Binder. We use Studio Binder to do all the scheduling and the script writing for the first two films, and that's in another one of my YouTube videos. So it was like the first or second one. So there's a lot of error use, and if you got an hour you want to burn, you can go ahead and listen to it. But like I said, they'll get better. They'll get better as we do them. The whole purpose of this is just to give some information and let you guys peep into kind of what we do a little bit. All right, Amber, you were talking about Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24, which, by the way, you can, there'll be a link in the description if you want to go view it. It's on a bunch of platforms, um, most notably Sci-Fi Central's platform, 1 million followers, it's got 240,000 views on that platform. So you could watch it on that platform and see what you think. But go ahead, Amber. You were talking about Alien Domicile. You were to go into kind of some of the aspects of. I think you were going to either talking about scheduling or talking about just whatever your experience. Just tell me your experience for that first film.
Yeah. So the experience, like I said, was started with kind of the script, and then when the script was finalized, sending that out to the cast. Also, I would like to go back and say regarding the script, you also have the ability to go in and mark what are they called, props and all of that. So I
Oh
did
yeah,
that as
props.
well, and that's an important part because there are tools within Studio Binder that lets you print out your scene and the props that you need for that scene. So that was super helpful.
Now, props is, to be clear, props is everything that's in the scene. It could be a can, a water, it could be whatever, however your scene is set up. What we learned is, do you remember, Amber? What we would do is we would set a scene and we would take a picture of it.
Right.
So we can go back and look at the picture where we came back the next day to shoot. So say we've got, 30 exterior scenes at night. So we have to reset the scene every time we may shoot one day and then we have to reset it for the following day or a couple of days later. We may not shoot that same scene for 4 days. It's got to look exactly the way it looked when we shot it, prior. So she's very on the hitting it on the nail when it comes to having props. It's important to keep up with your prop list, and then you never want to get to the set and not have the props. So yeah, good point.
Right. Yeah. Seeing continuity when you're cutting and picking up another day, that's another part that, oh, you had a can right here. It was faced this way, or you didn't have this paper here. There are a lot of little things that you have to pay attention to when you're not shooting a whole long scene all at once. If you pick it up the next day or later the day, because sometimes you'll take a break and the cast will be on the set and they want to sit and eat their lunch. You got to make sure you clean everything up. You've got it back the way it was looking.
Yeah.
So that was one part, and then just kind of making sure everyone. I would also help everyone with their lines. If there were lines that, sometimes you have a brain fart and you're like, you pause. Curtis did a really good job of directing what to do if you forget your line. Take a breath. We'll give you the line, wait a second, and then pick it back up so that we could continue the filming. And it worked out really well.
You don't have to cut. You just keep it rolling. Go ahead
Right.
and do it in post. But the key is just get the line. Let's not all react. You're right. And you learn that just because when you're scheduling and doing some of the stuff we're talking about, Amber, we're sticking. I mean, we have a tight schedule, so, and now obviously if you got the budget, you can shoot all day, every day. But for us, we were shooting a 60-minute film in like 5 days, 6 days.
Mm.
So there was no room. I mean, we were probably shooting, how many takes do you think per shot? Maybe 3 to 5?
I would say 3 to 5, yes.
And then toward the end, it got to 3. And then the last scene, that's one take. It was also super cold because we were shooting outside in the elements. So, we had that's probably something that was interesting to talk about. In ours, so we had, obviously, we're on the set, we're ready to go, we're shooting, and then there were some elements, some things out of our control. And we had a couple exterior shots, and it was just too cold. And the cast, they were freezing. So Amber and I had to take a break and say, okay, what are we going to do? So I think we moved those outdoor scenes to interior scenes, right? Or something like that.
I believe there were a few scenes where we were like, okay, because you guys, we were shooting in the fall, and it was really cold, and sitting outside for hours and hours is, obviously not ideal. So we did move some of those scenes from outside to inside so everyone could warm up.
So you have to be flexible when you're in that seat. because you can't be like, oh well, I really meant for this to be an outdoor scene. And it's not going. If you lose your actors, then you got there was a bigger loss there. So I just want to mention that as in being that you got to be flexible when you're doing scheduling and. So now tell me about Alien Domicile 2 Lot 24, the food. How did that work? Like how did
So
you schedule? How did everybody eat?
so at the beginning of the shoot, I'm sorry, before the shoot, we determined a food budget, right? So we have a food budget, and I felt like the best way to take care of the cast and all of the people on the set were to order things that people would like and that they wanted. So I found a few restaurants that were in the area that were pretty good. And I sent out the menu and I said, hey, here are your options. Let me know by this date, this time, what you would like. And at that point, during when it was time for food to be served, I would go pick it up, make sure everybody got, what they ordered, the orders were correct. It's also really, really important to be cognizant of food and dietary restrictions, allergies. We had, a vegetarian, someone who doesn't eat dairy. So ordering just whatever you want, it works in some cases, but I found that the cast really appreciated the time that we took to order things that they liked and that they wanted, they had a say in. When you're on set with somebody for 12, 16 hours, they get hungry. um, and they're looking forward to to these meals, and it's just, I'm a foodie and I like food. Food is important to me. So I really enjoyed that part of it, and the cast was very appreciative of the efforts that we made, as well as having different kind of snacks. So they didn't have to worry about bringing anything. We had water, we had juice, we had, peanuts and granola bars and different options for them throughout the day. And each day was something different. So it wasn't 5 days worth of pizza or, anything like that. It was a really good variety.
Yeah, and you've gotta, and I just second that you've gotta the the cast. I think what you said that was most important is the cast really appreciated it. And I think that when you're shooting a film like we were shooting and we were paying everyone like $100 a day to be there. So they were shooting it because they wanted to actually be there. It helps to show some gratitude. And you're right. We took time to make sure that we fit. And we only shot, we would make sure that we would shoot. So we had snacks before we start, make sure we stay within your dietary restrictions. We took a break, and our breaks, we usually shot 4 hours and then took a break. But I think as a director, I kind of had to read the room. And if I felt like a break would have been earlier, we needed a break earlier, then we would, but typically it was like 4 hours, shoot, take a lunch, um, and then shoot another 4 hours, and then they would have snacks and leave. So I think we did a really good job with that. I think that's a very important aspect. It was a good time, good set. We used a lot of what we learned on the first set before we went into this film and tried to be a lot more efficient. First of all, Amber, tell me, what do you think about our efficiency? Were we, in your opinion, um, more efficient with this second film?
I think that with the second film, there was an increase in efficiency. There were less takes. Um, you were just rolling through through everything, and it was really interesting to watch how everyone grew since the last film. You mentioned that we use some of the same characters, and it was good to see their growth since that last film. And things ran very smoothly, I think. And I we I think there were a couple of days that we finished ahead of schedule, and we were able to get people out of there a little bit early. So that speaks to learning, right, from the previous experience. Okay, I'm gonna do this different. I know we don't need 10 takes, we don't need 10 different camera angles. This is what I want, this one or this one. So I think that that experience played a lot into how well the next production ran.
Yeah, I think that's you make a good point in that. I think all the way around, even us, what we do as a production team, the actors, kind of how I direct and kind of what I'm looking for. I think that helped for them to kind of be a little more on point with that. So we kind of knew what we were trying to get out of this. And then I think we all knew that we could make a movie now, right? We had made one. We knew we could do it. It's just, you know, it's difficult when you haven't actually done something and you're trying to do it for the first time and you're not quite sure if you're going to be able to make it or get there. But I'm glad we were able to make it and get to that place where it made sense. What do you think about now? How did the um, scheduling go for that movie? Lot 24,
This,
Laurento,
so the scheduling for that movie was,
which we also did in Studio Binder, by the way.
yes, yes, I had to refamiliarize myself with Studio Binder, but it's super easy to use. It's very user friendly once you get back in there and get to it. We had several scenes. We had, and I believe it was raining on some of the days. So, that kind of weather can always throw a wrench
Wrench.
into your plans, especially when, you're doing spring, and you just never know. You never know what you're gonna end up with. And it was easy to move things around. Um, we had a few locations in this movie, not too many night scenes, so we were able to get those done, I think, in one long night. I believe we did. So I think it was pretty, it wasn't terrible. Like I said before, I think the most difficult part in scheduling that doesn't change is making sure that it's flowing, because okay, we've got this scene in this bedroom, let's do two scenes in the bedroom. Well, let me check the scene before this one and the scene after this one to see what's happening, what's going to be coming into the next scene. So that's something that you also have to prepare for when you're shooting one scene. What happened before this scene and what's happening in the next one, if they aren't scenes that flow together like that.
Right. Continuity, script
Yes.
continuity, scene continuity always makes it makes sense. You want it to flow, but you don't want to get so caught into it like it can't, because it is a movie, right? And it doesn't necessarily have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? You can go, you know, I look at it like pool. At the end of shooting a game of pool, the goal is hit the black ball in, a ball in the pocket, right? Now, there are certain games where you can play, you know, where you just have to hit in, solid or stripes. There's certain games where you have to hit them in numerical sequential order, Um, but at the end of the day, all those games end in one thing happening: the black ball going in last. So I think that as a director, my job is we may have all these different slices to how our production is running on this script, all these different exterior, interior, all these different moving parts. My job is to make sure at the end of the day, the black ball goes in, at last. And so I think that, yeah, I think we learned a lot. And I think we learned how to, execute, if nothing else. Here we are, we have two films that we've shot, we've produced, we've scheduled, we've directed, we've we've managed, and one film is doing extremely well, and our second one, Lot 24, the rental, the one we're talking about now, is just now being released. It was picked up at the European film market, and it's out there for purchase now, under Stadia Media. So yeah, I just good information. Good information, Amber. Couple more things before I let you go. Um, so casting for Lot 24, the rental. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you feel we did? I mean, I know it was primarily Trinell. Um, I think it's probably worth noting that Trinell wasn't a lead in the first film, but he played the sheriff and he played our protagonist. He played the villain. Um, and I think that Sheriff Poe in the first film, Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24, I think was probably one of the standout characters of the film.
I would agree.
And I think as a result of that, it was it was easy for us to see that Trinell um could lead a film, because this was his first lead role. I mean, he played bit roles. He's played some supporting roles for Bernie Bill films, and he was in the Aretha Franklin movie. But again, nothing as a lead role. This was his first lead role in Lot 24, the rental. So how do you think he did as a lead actor?
I think he did very well. He There was a lot of scenes of him by himself, and just the way that he handled it, and his acting was superb.
Yeah, I mean, without telling so much about the movie, there's a uh, he's in this Airbnb and he's going mentally insane, and to do that requires just him himself. He's seeing things, he's talking to people that aren't there. So when you have to go to that level of acting, it requires you to really like zone in a certain kind of way. And I think he did a really good job of zoning in, to the characters personally. You know, I think he did a great job of finding his niche. Um, finding his niche uh, when he was in character. And then again, we've worked together so long, you know, especially working on the first film. He kind of knew from a director standpoint, kind of how I kind of flow.
Right.
Plus, he had a lot of autonomy, with the character, because when you're in a scene by yourself, what's the one thing that you don't have to worry too much about, and that's dialogue. You know,
Right.
so he was able to kind of, you just gotta, if you mumble in something, you just gotta be able to kind of remember where the mumbles, remember the mumbles. But I do think we did a lot less shooting. There were a lot less shots, a lot less takes. Um, what about food? What are your thoughts on food? Um, how was the food for Lot 24 to Reno comparative to maybe the first one? Because I know you talked a little bit about the first food on the first one.
I believe it was pretty much the same. Um, I can't quite recall um, the exact options that I gave, but there it was the same thing. We provided breakfast every morning, um, a general breakfast, bagels, coffee, and those were fresh every day. They were free to take any leftovers. We encouraged them to please take these
Yeah,
leftovers.
please take, right.
Please take this with you home. There was no recycling of prior day food outside of things like orange juice or stuff like that. Um, but I think it went well. I think everyone enjoyed it. I think they were pleasantly surprised by some of their options, and they were appreciative. There were a few new people who were new to us on the like the camera side, the sound and that. And I would I would I would say that they would have very positive things to say about their experience with us. We were all everyone was respectful of one another. There wasn't any problems. There were no egos. It was like a well-oiled machine.
Yep, that's the way to work it. So Amber, yes, we've talked a little bit about scheduling and that's kind of side of the house. We've talked a little bit about budgeting for feeding a crew and the cast, and some of your insight into those two things. We've talked a little bit about casting and just kind of some of your experiences with helping the cast for both films, Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24, and for Lot 24, The Rental. Before we end this discussion, I say discussion, I should say before we end this talk, how should I say that?
Discussion.
Before we end this discussion.
Or chat.
Yeah, I want to just ask you a few questions about kind of when it comes to cinema, what you like, and get some insight into kind of what, now that you've produced a film, looking on this side of the house, kind of does it change your view of films? So I guess my first question would be, can you give me like maybe a film or two that you think, in your opinion, is just a phenomenal film? And then tell me why.
Oh, wow. That is a really good question.
It doesn't have to be your greatest film of all time in your mind.
I know.
I know some films that you like that you told me, but I just name a film that you are very favorable upon, and tell me why you think, what made that film give you that feeling. Or I can name a couple films and you can tell me your takes on it. Films that I know you've seen.
Let's do both. I'll start with my film that I think was phenomenal. I'll use the word phenomenal. I will go with, and it is my favorite movie. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Um, just the whole story, just the set, the characters, the story. It was just amazing to me, especially the Chocolate Factory. I think that's the part that was so amazing. All of the things that had to be created, that had to apparently be edible, and or appear to be edible. And I think it was just amazing. And because it's my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies.
Okay, yeah, that's one of my actual favorite movies. I don't know if that's any indication of why we're married. But for me, you know what it was? It just I was at a place where it didn't really represent what my young experience as a young Black kid, what my experience was, where I was. The Willy Wonka movie was a way. I've always liked movies that I could step into and kind of be whisked away into another, just away from where I was at,
Right.
and it wasn't that I was in such a bad place, but I just wanted to. My imagination was always huge, and sometimes I needed to escape the realities of of maybe what I was dealing with, and that's what I got out of that Willy Wonka. You're talking about the first one, right?
Yes, the original. Yes.
You know, I mean, would it have been more relatable if there were Black kids in there? Of course.
Absolutely.
So from that perspective, it loses its rating on my all time list.
Right.
Because I've got to be able to relate to it on some level. But then Spider-Man isn't real either. So I think that if you think beyond the surface of just the actors, the message, everything about it, I think was very, very for us, you and I think was very. It had I don't know. It really hit a little bit. It hit.
Yeah, there's just something about it.
you know, and that's interesting. Um, I've got some. Before I go into my next question, I'm going to hit you with some Willy Wonka trivia. Okay,
Oh, okay, okay.
because you know, if you really are a fan of Willy Wonka, you should be able to hit some Willy Wonka trivia.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
Let me ask you
Pressure.
before we go into the trivia. Did you hear that the Wonkas were supposed to be slaves?
I did hear something about that,
Did you
and I
look it
don't
up?
want to.
Did you research
I
it?
did. I did. You know, I did. I can't.
Were
I
they were
can't.
slaves, huh? Little
I,
aborigine.
I think it was something like that, and I think that originally, and I could be misremembering. I want to say, for some reason, I want to say Charlie originally was supposed to be black, but they didn't think it would sell or something like that. And I could be, like I said, remembering it wrong or wishful thinking. Um, but I
Oh man,
thought I
that would
read
have
that
been
somewhere.
now that would have been now then hey, then it goes back to my number one at that point. You know?
I thought I read that somewhere. I'll have to revisit that.
I just think there's just so many more and I love the characters in the film, the original one. And I think Gene Wilder's spirit is so soft. You know, I think any
Hmm.
of but I just think that there's so many they gave a bunch of different views of maybe a young white male or young, Caucasian female. They gave different angles, and I think they could would have gotten um, a lot more, in my opinion, a lot more, uh, a wider aspect by having, maybe some different, like a kid of color, Chinese kid. I think
Right,
could
right.
have
But they weren't really doing that, back in when did that movie come out? In like the
70s, I think.
71, I want to say. It was a totally different time. And so that's why I can appreciate the recent Wonka that we saw when he was younger with, you know, with the young black girl in it as
Oh,
a
oh, the
like a
last, yeah,
co-main character.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one. That was a good one. That was good. You didn't like the fact that they dumped the baby in the dumpster.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a movie, though. You
I
know,
know, I know. You know how I get
you got to
and I
make them.
get
They got you. They got to get you to hate the character.
yeah, yeah. I get, personally connected to these movies, even though I know it's not real.
I I personally think the Blanca with Edward Scissorhands is the best.
Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp is the best. It's almost as good as the original. Almost. And you don't normally find things that are almost as good as the original. Normally, it's the original is um just so far because like our Lot 24, when I watched our first film, Alien Domicile 2 Lot 24, and I watch it and I watch our second film, I like both films. Okay.
Okay.
But I lean more toward Alien Domicile 2 Lot 24, you
Okay.
know, just
Hmm.
because it was our first film and there's something with like not something I tell like even the music, you go in the studio and you say, there's something with, you know, with it not being perfect sometimes, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I think that when it comes to the Wonka, the first one was pretty much was it. It was just that it was really organic. But that second one with Johnny Depp, he's a different kind of actor, you know,
Hmm.
and I think he brings a different kind of aspect to me, you know. I don't know. What your thoughts were? Do you even recall that one?
I don't think I made it through it. I didn't really I didn't really care for it. Um, so I have no recollection of that movie,
So
unfortunately.
you're not. So you're gonna get 10% on these Willy Wonka questions because
It's
you're a
on the
real Wonka.
original. You said it's on the original. I think I'm okay on the original. So don't let me misspeak. and build myself up, and then you ask me something like what was Grandpa Joe's middle name, and I have no idea.
Now I'm gonna know if you're answering these things, you're gonna have to let me know how you know these answers, because obviously I'm not in front of you, so it's the world. You could be just I get it. You could have chat AI on listening to me, and as I'm asking the question, it's answering it for you on your phone. So we're not gonna be able to know. So if it's something you think you know, and if you don't know, then be honest, because we're gonna want you to explain it.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Let's see. Let's see. What color is Charlie's shirt the day he finds the golden ticket?
What color is Charlie's shirt?
See, I told you. This, this
Okay,
for
I'm gonna go
real.
with
Yeah,
that's some real. I'm gonna go with like brown or like a cream brown. That's
real
what I'm
sick.
seeing. I'm gonna
Blue
go with
and
brown.
brown. Blue and
Yeah.
brown. Blue and
No,
brown.
not blue, like cream. I see like a tan color for some reason. I see him with like a brown like coat or some kind of, you know.
It says the answer is blue and brown.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Let me try to find. Okay, who wrote the book Charlie and the Chocolate Factory?
Roald Dahl.
There you go. There you go. I wouldn't have known that, but I know the name. Now that I know the,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wouldn't have known what it. You know, what's the name of the child that the story focuses on?
Charlie
What's his last name?
Buckets.
Bucket.
Charlie Bucket.
Yeah, no S. Who sewed the end pieces with the little tassels on the scarf Charlie got for his birthday?
I want to say maybe that was Grandma Georgina.
Grandma Josephine.
Ah, I was gonna say Grandma Josephine. Okay.
Okay, you're gonna know this one. Who was the very first person to find a golden ticket?
Oh, I knew that was gonna be a question, and I want to say it was Veruca, but no, it was Augustus. Augustus Gloop.
Augustus was number one. How many songs do the Oompa Loompas sing?
The Oompa Loompas sing. Let's see here. So they sang one when they first came in. They sang one for Veruca being spoiled. They did one for Violet and her gum chewing.
Yep.
Mike TV.
Yep.
Augustus. So that's 5. I'm gonna go with 5.
5.
Ah.
5. Let's see. We'll do one more and then we'll go. Keep going. What is Augustus Gloop eating when we are first introduced to him?
Oh, what is Augustus Gloop eating? I don't know. He was eating dinner, I think.
He's eating knockwurst. He's eating
What
a hot
is
dog.
that?
Probably a hot dog. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, you got me there.
Knockwurst. I guess I gotta spell it right. Oh, it's like a bratwurst. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we talked a little bit, like I said, about scheduling. We talked a little bit about preparing the cast for meals. We talked a little about casting. Talked a little bit about your favorite movie, which is Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original.
The original. Yes.
With Gene Wilder, and kind of why you thought that was a really, really good movie. Now, tell me what, And then you did a little trivia. So I wanted to see if she was actually a real Willy Wonka Wonka. How'd you say that? Willy Wonka in?
Oh, a Wonkian, perhaps, so
Wonkian?
a Wonkite, if
Wonka,
you will.
Willy Wonkite, the Willy Wonkite. So
I would like to give you my favorite part in Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24.
sure. Actually, give me your favorite part in both movies, our films, and then in the Wonka movie.
Okay, so my favorite part in Alien Domicile 2, Lot 24 is the door slam, and then Sheriff Poe goes, "Must have been the wind."
Must have been
It
the
was
wind.
it was such a funny part on the set, and everybody just cracked up. It was funny. It was a good part. That was so much fun. It was so much fun.
He opened up those big old eyes. Sheriff Poe, I know you're gonna hear it. He opened up them big old eyes, real slow and suspicious like. I mean, I I really got Scooby Doo type vibes out of our first movie. I mean, not in a good way, kind of like having fun, except we weren't like a bunch of people on meth, but well, not all of us. Um, we'll, we'll say that for the other. That's for the other discussion.